do it right quick. I believe the time is now 10 o'clock or so. Um, Saturn and Gemini part 2. We left off with the fact that the principle of Gemini, um, dealing with the mundane versus the cosmic, is because the mundane deals with the personality and the ego, whereas the cosmic is more esoteric and spiritual. So all the signs of the zodiac portray or have both. So in the mundane aspect, we left off with envy and jealousy with Gemini. Uh, it's not quite clear why, and not just Gemini. I mean, the universe could have chosen any sign, because all of us are capable of showing jealousy and envy. But each sign of the zodiac has a template of a particular psychological and sociological behavior ascribed to it. And for Gemini, among many things that it has attributed to it, is the concept of envy and jealousy. Now, envy is very different from jealousy. Both, you can write books on both of them separately. You can research on your own what they mean. But in astrology, we see the jealousy in Gemini or in anybody that has that feeling of jealousy, but it does belong to the template of Gemini, and it's the having a covet for someone else's life, someone else's things. It is it's a lacking in the person. The person may feel entitled and feel that he should or she should have the same material possessions or spiritual mirth that they have. And they become very jealous. And they can act upon this jealousy by actively, with the language. Remember, because Gemini rules language. They can say it's sly, or they can say something underhanded, or something unkind. And that is the way that they can express jealousy over someone or something or a situation that they feel they should be a part of, but are not a part of. Okay? Yes, I am okay. I am okay. And I'm a soldier. Now, jealousy is not good because it is an energy field. When someone is jealous of someone, and the indicator for that jealousy, whereas one would know or one would see or one would detect that someone around you may be jealous of you, it's in the eye, the way they look at you. Jealousy exists in the left eye, and that's why the evil eye is associated also with Gemini, but on the left side of the face, which is the left eye, which we call in the Hebrew ayin, right? The eye. Envy is different. Envy is far more dangerous than jealousy. With envy, the person may feel that what you have belongs to them and it doesn't belong to you. And they have a sense of entitlement for what you have and also for your life. But it doesn't stop there. With envy, the person will take steps to sabotage, destroy a human being, to take what they have. There are many movies that were made both exclusively of jealousy and envy. One that comes to mind is The Talented Mr. Ripley, where his copycat believed that he should deserve and have what the victim had, which he eventually killed him. and took his stuff and took his identity. Another movie that expresses envy is The Hand That Rocks the Cradle with Rebecca De Mornay. If you watch that movie, she was pregnant, got into a car accident and lost a baby. But the person that caused the accident in the other car was the woman that she later went to kill her and take her baby because she was also pregnant. She believed in her mind that that was her baby and that she has her baby. And now she has to do whatever she has to do to get that baby, even if it means killing the natural mother. This is another example of envy. Another example is Single White Female. These movies are expressing a distorted perception and even ego of someone who is borderline a sociopath or, in the case of envy, psychotic. This potential exists in all humans, and some take it to a whole other level. Many of you are experiencing both envy and jealousy. For example, the stolen inheritance and house and money. This person whom you might or might not know, could be a family member or frenemy, or someone that you've known for a long time and has studied you, knows you, believes that they have is not theirs, but it belongs to the one who's causing the envy. Believes, and therefore they do and take great lengths, falsifying documents, paying a hitman, paying people to systemically destroy you and take your inheritance, take your house, take your money, take your man, take your woman. And if you put any resistance, that person can kill you. And it does usually happen. This is the difference between envy and jealousy. They're both distinctly different, but they are caused by a social pathology that only the person can relate and identify. These people need therapy, and it's something that we are not quite sure, even in the medical field, even in the social science field, that it can be cured. It's something that has to be dealt with on a constant basis. Yes, I'm in the bathroom. The lighting is better here. So that's another concept of Gemini, which is jealousy and envy. There's also another faction that could be a part of this faction, or it may be a whole new faction, and that's demonic energy. You know, Gemini is very known for their peculiar laughter, and it can be very piercing and very sinister. And this is tying into the dark shadow aspect of Gemini that we find in the Magician, which has both polarities. We don't see it so much in Virgo. In Virgo, which is the cohort to Gemini, the demonic energy is expressed by the actions that the Virgo or someone with a strong Virgo moon, Virgo sun, Virgo ascendant, Saturn there, or any aspects to Virgo that will make this person a liar, a cheater, a con artist. Many Virgos fall under that category. Not to say that Gemini doesn't either, but it is a template that belongs exclusively with Virgo. If you remember the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can, look what the character did, falsifying documents, forging, and making copies of it that it's so fucking accurate that you cannot tell the real document from the fake document. And he got away with it. Did a lot of damage, hurt a lot of people, sold a lot of money. This is the diabolical nature that is expressed in Virgo in this aspect of demonic energy. Okay? It is It's materialized. It's organized fraud, which Virgo also rules. So these are the lower shadow natures of Gemini, one of the polarities of Gemini. Again, in principle, it belongs to Gemini, but when we're dealing with the mundane, anybody can be jealous, anybody can be envious. So that's another faction of Gemini. Uh-huh. Gemini also rules the local environment, the immediacy of the environment. And we're going to go into it in a little while. When it comes to the mind and the intellect, and the exercise with the mind and the intellect, Gemini curves towards superficiality, frivolity, trivia. It's not that the sign doesn't have profundity, but it's just not expressed. It's just not shown. And it seems that the Gemini personality and ego doesn't really care for the minutiae and details of something specific, depending on what it is that they're thinking or talking about. We see this when the Gemini person, or the person with strong Gemini, the ascendant, sun, moon, Venus, or aspects to it, engages in conversation with other people. And they can start the conversation, or they can leave a sour note by the end of that conversation with several people. There is never a cornerstone for Gemini to say, yes, this is it. I agree with you. This is, no. Gemini won't do that. It leaves it open-ended. And it likes to argue. It likes to go against popular opinion, even though the person with the Gemini emphasis may know better, but they will still elect to be mischievous, difficult. And this is where the demonic energy arrives from. And Gemini gets a real kick out of this. And many Geminis that do this and people fall for their antics get harvested lots of energy, even without them noticing it. But this can also be true of the Gemini person doing this, and he may not know, or she may not know, that they are being like a vampire and are harvesting energy with or without their awareness. Okay? So Gemini encompasses a lot, and there's a lot of complexity in the sign. It is the child that doesn't grow up. It's the Peter Pan syndrome. But the Peter Pan syndrome won't really fit this category of Gemini, because the Peter Pan syndrome is harmless. The only harm to the Peter Pan person with this syndrome is the hurt that he may be causing himself or herself, and the delayed development of that individual once they reach adulthood. It is in and of itself harmless towards others. So I won't really ascribe the Peter Pan syndrome, but it does parallel very much this faction of Gemini. Gemini is a depositor. It's a depositor of knowledge. And Geminis are fantastic knowledge. You think I get knowledge from the source? With Gemini, it's like pure water. They know things. They know mysteries. Maybe as adept as what I give you. But Gemini will not express this openly and will not share that with anybody else. No, you have to go get it. Go get it. Go get it. It's not going to pull you in and share knowledge or information. Gemini is very, very jealous and very self-protective when it comes to dispensing knowledge and information. Yeah, Gemini this is the last faction here with the Gemini template, is that it's a communicator. And any opportunity to have a conversation will love it. Gemini will eat it up. It's where they can flex their mental muscles and also compare their intellect to those of others and see if she or he figures or fares well or evenly with other intellects and other brilliant minds. The problem becomes is that Gemini doesn't really give other people their props and certainly doesn't give people their flowers when it comes to someone being correct. Gemini will not admit this and will keep that to him or herself. Now, we have to discuss the third house, the energy field created by the constellation and the sign of Gemini. The third house is the environment, the neighborhood. But it also rules the natural four winds of nature. And this is again what makes it a very, very powerful, formidable mental magician. It has all it needs to engender a thought. Now, here is the kicker. I just finished saying that Virgo, its cohort, materializes the ideas and thoughts of Gemini. But so does Gemini, but not in the Earth plane. It does it in the 5D, 6D, 4D, 7D. There, the thoughts of Gemini, as brilliant as they are, do materialize in those planes, but they don't reach the third plane, which is dominated by the cause and effect of the actions of Virgo, its cohort. The Gemini person is, because of their inner restlessness, is in constant flux and movement. There are many Geminis that just can't stand still. Or when it comes to relationships, that can be disastrous. They usually don't stay long to understand the damage that they've done or the neglect that they've caused a partner. Okay? It doesn't have an anchor. Virgo has an anchor. Gemini doesn't. And it's by choice. It keeps the mind fluid. No, there's a fear of stagnation of the mind when it comes to Gemini, which is why Gemini doesn't hold fixed to a particular thought or idea, thinking that it will take too much energy and space in the mind and not allow other thoughts to come in, other ideas. So it is constantly shuffling and reshuffling. They really are very impartial to the ways of the world. That doesn't mean that they are not sympathetic or emphatic about the condition of the world. They just don't want to be a part of it, and they choose to dismiss it. And again, this is something that the Gemini person will not express openly to anyone. The third house, dealing with the mundane, deals with your neighbors, the people on the street, your brothers and sisters, cousins, second cousins, and aunts and uncles. It is the secondary family dynamic, whereas Cancer, which we will talk about shortly, represents the nucleus of the family. Okay? With Gemini, it's visceral. And it can or cannot be non-committal to its own family. Yeah. Because if the family is rigid, the Gemini person will not respect that dynamic within the family and move to push away from it if they cannot transform their own family members into their way of thinking. Huh? Your acquaintances, friends, even frenemies fall under this aspect of Gemini. Okay, the third house. Now, let's introduce Saturn. Saturn in Gemini is paradoxical. Kind of like Gemini, kind of like Saturn in Pisces. But the difference is that Saturn in Pisces actually kind of rather works well. It anchors the imagination of Pisces, allowing for enough vision time to actually make it manifest, pulling from the opposite polarity of Virgo. With Saturn in Gemini, there's a high grade of intellect. You have professors that write books. You have surgeons. You have brilliant judges that fall under Saturn in Gemini. It truly is an intellectual power. But when it comes to personal and interpersonal relationships, here we go, we have a problem. Okay? Well, there may be too much rigidity for the Gemini person to share, because you're not just sharing your body and you're sharing your mind when you're in a relationship. That's with anybody. With Gemini, there tends to be a reservation here, and it can be reckless, scandalous, and making no apologies for it. It plays disappearing acts and then reappears and acts like nothing happened. There is a fear here with Saturn in Gemini of actually committing to a dark manifestation or to the understanding of others and their way of formulating intellect and therefore communication. It's a work in progress with Gemini. But Saturn here is very favorable career-wise, especially a career in writing, communication, mass communication, and also writing books and talking about a particular experience that only holds true with Gemini. So Saturn here, it can put you through, especially growing up, a lot of confusion and also a form of silence and a withdrawal from family, friends, society, which later opens up and gets better with age, while Saturn transits the sign as the person grows into maturity. So, guys, Saturn in Gemini it's at its worst when you're young, but it's the brilliant thinker, professor, or consummate neurosurgeon. It's very valuable, but it's a long and arduous road to get there. This is Saturn in Gemini and also the third house. Guys, thank you so much. Please donate, please give. And of course, if CashApp is bouncing back donations, do it through ZELLE. It goes directly to the account. I thank you, and now we're going to proceed with Saturn in Cancer.